Welcome back to the MixedTV.tv High School Football Thursday nights driven by Mountain View Nissan. I'm your host, Ryan Lovelace, joined by Drew Linus, Derek Morris, and Brittany Jackson Tucker. I got it right this week, at least I think. But guys, it's only week 3, and we've already had a Walker-Bradley matchup. And I guess there's another rivalry game this week that I just kind of forgot about. I didn't realize somebody called in, told us that we were forgetting about something. But yeah, it's Bradley-Cleveland week, so we switched Derek and Drew just to get these two beside each other. But looking back at last week, just an exciting week of high school football. We're about to dive into region games this week, but hey, it's September football. How are we feeling about it?
Well, it's week 3, so now you're starting to see teams are starting to get some identity. Some teams haven't found that identity, so this is where you start to see where the good teams start to separate, and the other ones are still searching. So it's fun to watch.
Yeah. And some teams may be coming off 2 wins or 2 losses, or they might be 1-1, so they're looking to try to catch some momentum here or there as we head into a new month. And it's exciting. It's still exciting times, and the weather starting to feel a little bit better. And so we can hope that that the month of September is just as great as the month of August was.
And also, like you said, it's week 3. Some teams have already got some banged up players and stuff, and that plays a factor in the game. So, getting into the season, you never know. When at any given night, anybody can win with all those factors.
Yeah, and then I think my favorite part about high school football is that none of the games up to now matter when it comes to the playoffs. Nothing matters but your region record, and we are starting region games this week, so we're going to jump right in. We have 8 games we're going to run through and preview before we talk about Walker Valley at Ooltewah and then Cleveland at Bradley. But we're starting off with Sweetwater and Loudon. That is a 7:30 kickoff game. Sweetwater, they are coming off a win over Rockwood, 35-0. I'm the only person here to pick them to win, throwing that out there. They are 1-1 on the year. They ran for 264 yards on 40 attempts, so expect them to pound the ball against Loudon. Meanwhile, Loudon, they've had success recently. They went 11-2 last year and lost in the Class 3A quarterfinals. They are undefeated this year. They lost a lot, but they're coming back strong. They're ranked 4th in Class 3A now. They beat their crosstown rival, Lenoir City, last week 21-14. Their quarterback, Will Irvin, threw for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. This looks like it's going to be an exciting game between an upstart team and Sweetwater trying to knock off the Loudon, who's dominated the region for the past couple of years. And again, that is at 7:30 tomorrow night.
Also tomorrow night, East Hamilton at East Ridge at 7:30, and this East Hamilton team, as I mentioned, got some banged up players. Quarterback out, torn ACL. That's tough, and first game of the season, so he was out last week as well. They had a pretty bad loss to Heritage, 24-9. They just could not put points on the board. So I think they're gonna, have to make some adjustments, and it's tough. I'm sure this week in practice, like having to, put Bullard at quarterback, who's not used to being there. So we'll see how they come out. But East Ridge is struggling. They're struggling. They're 0-2. So, just trying to get that win to get a little bit of momentum. They've struggled. They only had 28 points in the first half and, falling behind 28 at the break. So I think this game, there's a lot of East. Tongue-tied.
Battle of the East.
East Ridge is, obviously the underdog in this one, and I think got to come out. But I look for them to bring some momentum. You're wanting that win. You've got to seek that win. It's already the 3rd game of the season, so they're going to take advantage of those nicks and bruises that East Hamilton has.
All right, well, I got Baylor at versus Knox Catholic. So I did not pick Baylor last week going to Innsworth, and they proved me wrong, like a lot of these teams will. But they had a good run game, 187 yards from their tailback with 2 touchdowns, as well as they shut Innsworth out in the second half. So really good defense. Knox Catholic, they beat them last year, and they've just been dominating teams so far. So it's going to be a tough matchup both ways. Both teams are really good in their Division II AAA, so ranked 3 and 4 respectively. So it's just going to be a really tough game for both teams in this matchup.
Yeah, another big game in Division II is McCallie versus Montgomery Bell Academy. McCallie ranked number 1, they're on an 18-game win streak. They're looking to keep things rolling. They beat Woodward Academy last week 17-13. Montgomery Bell Academy. Also 2-0 on the season. They had a big win last week over Purple Cone, 49-6. You know, McCally's got the same mentality each week, and that's just continue the streak that they have. You know, they picked up. Last week the quarterback St. Hilaire threw 242 yards on 20 pass attempts, and NBA. Their goal is simple. You know, they want to win the state championship just like McCallie has the last couple of years. But in order to do that, they're going to have to beat McCallie. And so it's number 1 versus number 2. So somebody's going to move on to 3-0, and one team's going to take that first L of the season. So should be a good game.
Heading up to Polk County. Polk County is hosting Tellico. That is a 7:30 kickoff. Polk County, back-to-back wins to restart the second coming of Derek Davis in his return to Polk County. They had a win over Copper Basin last week. They scored 42 points. They won 42-13. They are ranked 16th in Class 2A. They make an appearance in the AP State Poll. They are facing off against Tellico Plains, who lost to McMinn Central, shout out Matt Moody, last week by 3 touchdowns, 42-21. Tellico, they hosted that game. They came out firing at home, showing off the offensive guns, but eventually McMinn Central worked their way back into that game and took a 3-touchdown victory from the hands of the Tellico Plains Bears. This is going to be an interesting game at Polk County. One of these teams has a chance to start 3-0. Meanwhile, Tellico, there's a big difference between 2-1 and 1-2, and we mentioned all games this week are region games, so that's going to be an exciting one, and it is at 7:30 tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, Silverdale at Chattanooga Christian at 7 p.m. Silverdale, 1-1 record, coming off a loss at Franklin Road Academy, which is the 8th, team ranked 8th in the state. So, very good team. They just could not score. Could not put points on the board. Lost 35-0. So I'm sure, disappointing week and had a great practice this week. But Chattanooga Christian, I was glad I got this game. I love Coach Massey, great friends of him and his wife. So I'm excited for him to get his first home win last week. She texted me. I love the Masseys. So I'm excited for him. I think he's going to do great things at Chattanooga Christian. He's got some studs. Boo Carter, who's got an offer from the Vols. And then you also have Jordan Gile, who's got several offers on the table, D1 offers as well. So, I think this is it's going to be a tough one for Silverdale, but you never know. I think Coach Massey's definitely going to have his Chargers ready.
All right, I got McMinn County versus Ray County. So McMinn County's kind of been a Jekyll and Hyde team already. They scored 50 points in week 1, and they scored 3 in week 2. So they're going to try to get that offense going again like they had week 1 against McMinn Central. They got a lot of returning starters, so they have the people to do it. And then Ray County is in an odd situation in that they had a week 2 bye. So, Brittany was talking about injuries already. Ray County comes off, no one's probably banged up. They got almost all their offense returning from last year, so that's a tough team to beat this year for sure. So McMinn County's looking to get back on track with their offense, and Ray County's looking to really get the season started after that first loss 2 weeks ago to Alcoa.
Next game, McMinn Central versus Signal Mountain, and we've talked about Coach Moody for the last couple of weeks, and he finally got the offense rolling last week against Tellico Plains, the big 42-21 win to get even up their record at 1-1. Got a tough game this week against Signal Mountain. Signal Mountain coached by Josh Roberts. I used to coach with Coach Roberts, and he's a Saudi Daisy grad, and so he was extremely excited last week to get the big win over Saudi, 23-7. And I feel that Signal's done some good things. This is Coach Roberts' 6th year leading the program. Their defensive coordinator, Ben Hunsucker, is a friend of mine, teaches next door to my mom, actually. And so I got some insight from him, and they're excited this week to continue things rolling in the right direction against McMinn Central. So that should be a fun region matchup for those two teams.
Yeah, so we have 8 big region matchups that we just talked about, and we have 2 more that we're going to talk about as a group after the break. Walker Valley at Ooltewah, and then, of course, Bradley hosting Cleveland. 2 big ones, but not to be overshadowed, there are 8 other great games in the Chattanooga area that we just ran through. So, get out and watch some high school football if you support any of these teams. Hopefully the weather will cool off and we'll have a great Friday. But as for us, I mentioned we were going to preview these 2 games when we come back. But right now you're watching the MixedTV.tv high school football Thursday nights driven by Mountain View Nissan. We are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
So come get huge Nissan savings when you shop Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland and Cleveland-Nissan today, home of the exclusive lifetime warranty.
L&B Appliance is your one-stop appliance shop and HVAC dealer. Locally owned and operated, serving this area for over 30 years. They offer sales and service. L&B Appliance, located on Durkee Road at Highway 64 in Cleveland, 423-339-3231. L&B Appliance, large enough to meet all your home appliance needs, small enough to appreciate your business.
So Lynn, tell me about your experience at Chattanooga Auto Square.
We have been thrilled with the service, and we wouldn't dream of shopping anywhere else.
They take the time to show you everything and work with you. The salespeople there were excellent.
It's been good working with them and also with the people in service.
I'm sure he lives here. And that is correct.
Chattanooga Auto Square. Luxury lives here.
Hands. You might think they're just for waving, but they can be used for all kinds of things, like making made-from-scratch biscuits at Hardee's.
Bite into the new 2 for $5 breakfast deal only at Hardee's.
This is Thomas Williams with Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Stop by today and take advantage of Bradley County's largest pre-owned inventory, or visit cleveland-nissan.com, home of the lifetime warranty.
Remember Me Senior Care is Cleveland's first assisted living and memory care neighborhood. They specialize in assisted living for those who are still active, with a community of indoor and outdoor activities. They also provide memory care living for those who are facing life with dementia. Learn more online at remembermesc.com or call their office and set up an in-person visit at 423-473-3140. Remember Me Senior Care, a culture of care your loved one deserves.
Welcome back to the MixedTV.tv High School Football Thursday nights, driven by Mountain View Nissan. I'm your host, Ryan Lovelace, still joined by Drew Linus, Derek Morris, and Brittany Jackson Tucker. Guys, we got two in-county games, and starting right off, we're not even going to talk about the big one yet, but Walker Valley at Ooltewah, just off exit 11. That's a 7:30 kickoff. Walker Valley with a tough loss to Bradley last week. Drew, just what are the vibes around the program right now after that tough loss?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week how Coach Akins would have the guys ready, and him and our defensive coach, Coach Ashby and Coach Harvey, they did a great job, had a great game plan, and had some opportunities. But now it's time to bounce back. I mean, this week at school has been a little people a little bit down, but I mean, it happens. And now we got to move on, and we got to shake it off, and we got to get things back on track, back on the road again. Third road game to start the year, and we
got lucky. Just say it.
Yeah.
We got lucky.
Yeah, the guys were flying around at practice this week, which was good to see. The energy was high. So that's kind of good to see, going into another game and not just relishing the fact that, we lost again to Bradley. But, one of these days that things will change and we'll get there.
Yeah. A tough last-second loss. We see Bradley do it time after time again in rivalry games. I mean, they come back against Walker 2 years ago. They come back against Cleveland 2 years ago. I mean, it just feels like the game's not over at Bradley Central until it's over. But losing on a game-winning field goal like that, or for you, Brittany, a game-winning shot in the last minutes, what does that sort of do for the morale of a team after the game?
I would rather lose by 30. Like I've always said, I mean, in basketball, whatever sport it is, that's just tough. And I mean, Walker Valley, listen, I wasn't there. I kept up with it with my dad, and he said we didn't deserve to win. Yeah. I mean, Walker Valley came out, great game plan, and it's just. It's tough. You hate losing like that, and I'm sure any of these coaches can, tell you. I'd rather lose by 30 than lose, in something like that. It's tough. But those kids, hey, you give all the credit to Walker Valley because they, they gave it their all and they had a chance to win, and we just, you get lucky, and that's literally what Bradley did. They, they pulled out the win, but it was a tough one, and Walker Valley deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, Derek, just from a coach's perspective. If you're Walker Valley, you're going to Ooltewah, who's not as good as Bradley, if you just put it, just to be frank. What are you preaching to your team this week at practice?
Well, first of all, a loss like that, you lose sleep all weekend thinking every single play over and over again. But then what you do is you have to bounce back. And moral victory still means that you lost the game, but you can preach that momentum, that positivity of how well you played that team. Now we briefly talked about it in the break about it could almost be a trap game because Ooltewah is that bad. So from a coaching standpoint, instead of talking about the loss, you talk about all those positive plays and you watch film and say, this is where we shut them down because we did things right. So now you continue to work on those things you did right to enforce that, because that's what carried you through that game, and it should carry them through this game.
So talking about Ooltewah, I mean, we expected them to sort of get destroyed at Red Bank. We saw Red Bank beat Cleveland. We expected that game to be sort of a blowout. But you look down at the score all night, and it's 18-0, final score. So if you're Ooltewah, Drew, do you take that as sort of a moral victory that your defense held Red Bank, a team that scored 35 points, up at Cleveland to 18 points on their home turf?
I think 100%. I think that it really surprised me that the score was low. It didn't really surprise me that that Ooltewah couldn't get anything going offensively. But from a standpoint of holding Red Bank to 18 points, like that's awesome. I mean, that's good for them, and I'm sure that's what Coach Manning is preaching to those guys this week. Is like, hey, like we held a really good Red Bank team to 18, and we got in order to compete and in order to win this week, they're gonna have to hold our guys to to low scoring as well, and hopefully we can get the offense rolling and keep them on their toes.
So, Brittany, is it fair to say there's good losses and bad losses? I mean, like the Walker Valley loss, if you're Walker Valley, I feel like it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Meanwhile, Ooltewah, I don't want to say it's a good loss because I don't think there's a such thing as that, but it's a productive loss. I mean, is that fair to say?
It is. Something just sticks in my head when you talk about losing. I mean, Pat Summitt always would say, you learn more from your losses than you do your wins. And so I think whether a good win, a bad win, there's so much to learn from that, and it's what you take out of that and bring into next week. So I do. I think that even though they lost, they had to, as Coach said, focus on the good things they did and carry that into next week and use that as momentum.
So Derek, what are you preaching to Ooltewah just to sort of overcome a good team like Walker Valley?
Yeah, well, Ooltewah has improved, and that's what you're looking for as a coach. So they definitely have improved from week 1 to week 2, even though they have 2 losses. Their defense played pretty well. So now if you have the athletes. So if you can break one play, that changes the game. But football is a game that one play can be a complete momentum shifter. So if Ooltewah can hold in defensively, get that one big play, break that one big touchdown, I mean, it's a ball game for sure. Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, so Walker Valley, that is at Ooltewah. That is a 7:30 kickoff tomorrow night. You can listen to it on 99.1 The Fiesta. Moving on, you've heard us talking about it. Bradley versus Cleveland is apparently this week. I don't think anybody in the town knows about that. It's a regional game. Bradley's won 7 straight against Cleveland. We mentioned Bradley coming off the big game-winning field goal, and let's start there. Just, Brittany, I don't know, I haven't gone down this rabbit hole, but did you ever play on a team that hit a game winner? I mean.
Yeah. We, I remember a Final Four. Yeah, I played in several, and it's, it's exciting. But also, when the game is over, this is something that, I've taught everybody, especially this week, my household, it's just so divided. That's everybody's talking about the Bradley Cleveland. And but, I think you've got to forget that game. It's over and focus on the next game because, both teams last week got lucky to win. And, Bradley and Cleveland. So they both put out a win, but it wasn't easy. And so I think, that excitement and that, those emotions, that's over, and now you got to focus on this game because now you got another, both of these teams. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be down to the wire. So, it's hard too with high school kids. You're so emotional, and it's, the student section is all week. I don't even know what all they're doing. Now they've got aliens and they've got all these different things that they're doing. But it was an exciting game, and like I said, I think with both teams barely being lucky to pull out a win, it's interesting how this game's going to go this Friday.
So, Drew, if you look past sort of the fluff of Bradley, coming out on top and kicking that game-winning field goal, they turned the ball over 5 times, 123 yards in penalties. I mean, how do you correct that? Just moving on into a game against Cleveland where it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. You turn the ball over 5 times. even the best football team can lose. How do you work on that in practice?
I do feel kind of bad for Bradley having to play both rivalry games back to back. I mean, because there's like Brittany said, there's a lot of emotions that come into those games, and so they were probably spent and dog tired, and those coaches were probably worn out Friday night, and you got to turn around and play another huge game this week. But they got to be a little bit more disciplined. I mean, the penalties cannot happen. They got to be a little bit more careful with the ball. I'm sure they repped a lot of things ball security wise, whether it was not forcing passes here or there, or trying to hold on to the ball while they're running it. But the big game, it's a big week. It's, craziness, student sections, all that fun stuff. And once again, I said this last week when we played them, but I wish it was the only. I guess it is the only game, and since we're playing it on the road. But it'll be a packed house. But they've got to be more disciplined. They got to be composed. They got to stay composed. If they turn the ball over a few times like they did last week, if Cleveland can capitalize on those turnovers, things could go a whole lot better for them. And that's one thing we just didn't do last week that just kind of came back and bit us a little bit. So it's one of those things.
So, Derek, we hear, especially high school coaches in this town, talk about how hard it is to keep a team sort of locked in ahead of a rivalry game. How hard do you think Damon Floyd's job is right now, trying to keep them locked in for back-to-back rivalry games?
So I don't envy him in this last 2 weeks because that is tough. I mean, like she said, the emotion level's high over what they eat for lunch. So over this game, it's just off the charts, So it's basically if you're a coach at this point, you're not talking about that again. You're going back to here's what we do, and you just do those fundamentals every day to get that routine down. If this is what we're doing to kind of get that out, because once you're between the lines, of course, it's got to be between the lines. So it's a tough task. Damon's done a great job with it for the last few years, obviously. So I think he'll have them ready to play. I think he will fix a lot of these penalties and mental errors they had. So they'll come out ready to play. They weren't happy with how they won by any stretch of the imagination. So they're not going, oh yeah, we won. Now it's Cleveland. No, they're getting ready to go.
Yeah. So moving on. I mean, we're sort of discrediting Cleveland here. They had a win over McMinn County that not many people, including us, picked them to win. You were the only one wearing the Cleveland shirt, proud.
Trust me, I heard it.
But I mean, a gross game or a beautiful game, depending on which side of the fence you're on. Looking at that one, Brittany, you were there. What was it like? I mean, no points scored until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I got distracted. I saw an old friend that I'd not seen in a while, and I looked up in the third quarter, and I'm like, wait, are they not putting the points on the board? I mean, it was shocking. I mean, it just, I think that's something that Cleveland is definitely working on this week. I mean, they've got to put points on the board to beat Bradley. I mean, that's just, that's just a given. So, I did pick McMinn, but of course I heard it when I got home from my husband and my son. So, I thought I had it because I said, hey, it's fourth quarter, about 3 or 4 minutes left. The first team to score is going to win. McMinn scored, and then nope, I had to stay because Cleveland ended up winning. But I'm excited. I'm excited about this week. It's always, goes back from when I'm in high school. It's such a great rivalry game, and the student body, from both schools it's just fun and exciting. But as Coach Morris mentioned, I think both teams, you got to worry about, hey, focus on what you do, like what your specialties are on the field, and then you take care of business. Can't worry about everything else.
So Derek, you said you were at this game for a majority of it. What did Cleveland's defense look like? Was it more bad McMinn offense or good Cleveland defense sort of stopping that ground and pound offense?
No, I thought defensively Cleveland played really well. Nobody got outside. They tried some quick screens that the corners flew up on and made open field tackles. They didn't have any stupid penalties defensively. So they really did a good job of shutting them down. The team was talking. There was excitement. Their defense looked legit. Their offense didn't have the mistakes that they had against East Ridge. We had the turnovers, but they just weren't crisp. They still had mistakes that weren't turnovers. They had missed passes, a couple of overthrows and drops that cost them. So they got to clean that up a little bit. But defensively, I thought they looked the part.
Yeah. So Drew, if you look at Bradley and Walker's defense shut down Bradley for the most part. Mm-hmm. If you look at their 21 points and you break it down, 7 of them came off a fake punt.
Right. We had a guy fall down too. So.
Yeah, there it is. So Bradley's offense did not look good, and Cleveland's defense looked great.
Yeah.
What do you make of that going into this game?
Well, Cleveland, obviously an exciting 6-3 win. Sounds like a baseball score. But, you know, they're going to carry that momentum into this week. And, I mean, this game could be 10-7.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be 13-10. I could see it being a low-scoring game, two defenses battling out. Maybe there's maybe Coach Wheeler's got some tricks up his sleeve. You know, Coach Floyd pulled out a fake punt, which obviously Cleveland's got to work on their punt coverage as well. You know, there might be some trickeration again from Coach Floyd. You never know. I mean, so I think it's going to take something like that to get the momentum swinging towards Cleveland or towards Bradley. I think it'll be a great game. But you know that Cleveland wants to, you know, they want to get that monkey off the back. They're wanting to beat them to you know, kind of hush everybody up for a little bit. But of course, you know, Bradley wants to continue the streak. So it should be another fun rivalry game.
So Brittany, going into this game, you've lost 7 in a row. If you're Cleveland, are you sort of coming in sort of feeling a little defeated already just because of that streak against you? I mean, you see the number on town, you see student sections talking trash about it, how Bradley's won 7 in a row. I mean, is that a monkey on your back going into this game?
No, you know, I mean, I think if you're an athlete, you're competitive. That gives me motivation. Like, hey, I'm ready to end this streak and get a win. And you know, like you said, Bradley in the last 7 years, 7. That's correct. 7 years has won.
Don't
you know,
dig it in. Don't rub it in.
I just wanted to make sure 7. You know,
Yeah.
but no, absolutely not. I think this Cleveland team is, hey, they're hungrier than ever to finally end that win streak. I know, you know, as an athlete, as competitive, you want to do that. So I don't think that they're at all going in there like, oh, woe is me. You know, we're the underdogs. I think they're going to come ready to play.
So, Drew, real quick before we go to break, you said you watched the game. Jackson Wilson, he was limping around on a hurt ankle all game. It didn't stop him from running for 110 yards and throwing a 76-yard touchdown in the process. But how big of a blow is it for Bradley if he's not 100%?
Yeah, I think he's a difference maker. Yeah. They may be forced to throw the ball a little bit more, and you know, hopefully the Walker kid that's at quarterback, I think, you know, he's trying to get some experience under his belt, and hopefully he can get things rolling. But you know, if Wilson can't play or can't continue to play, you know, like he wants to play, that's going to affect the game plan a little bit. You know, hopefully he's been able to kind of bounce back. You know, I'm sure he hadn't practiced as much this week, trying to keep him off his leg, off his ankle. But it's one of those things, you know, it might be, you know, he gets in there and feels okay, and then, you know, might tweak it here or there. We don't, obviously we don't want that to happen, or anybody would want that to happen. But, you know, that's going to affect the game plan a little bit.
So Bradley versus Cleveland, 7 p.m. tomorrow night at Bear Stadium, the only game in the county. If you can't come out and watch, you can listen to the Cleveland broadcast on Mix 104.1, the Bradley broadcast on Talk 101.3 The Buzz, or you can watch it at mixtv.tv. As for us, don't look at last week. We promise we know what we're doing when it comes to picks. But we're going to come back and pick all 10 of the games we've mentioned after this break. You are watching mixtv.tv's High School Football Thursday nights, driven by Mountain View Nissan. We will be right back.
Wholesale Supply Group, you've heard the name for years. The experts trust them, and you should too. Whether you're building, remodeling, or just maintaining your home, Wholesale Supply Group has all the plumbing, electrical, and HVAC products you need to supply any project. With great brands like Delta, Kohler, Rinnai, Mansfield, Progress Lighting, Square D, GE, and Milwaukee, Wholesale Supply has everything you need. Check out the locations in Cleveland, Chattanooga, Athens, Dayton, Madisonville, Dalton, and Chatsworth. Online, wholesalesupply.us. And remember, Wholesale Supply is open to the public.
From Lookout Mountain to Cleveland, from Red Bank to Collegedale, luxury lives here.
Chattanooga Auto Square is your home for premium luxury automobiles.
And we have the largest selection in all of Chattanooga of pre-owned vehicles from every major brand.
Chattanooga Auto Square, Jaguar, Land Rover, Porsche, Infiniti.
Luxury lives here.
The ability to try a criminal case in front of a jury is one of the most important skills a lawyer can have. Make sure you hire a lawyer that can do it. The law offices of Stephen Hatchett are here for your criminal needs in Athens, Cleveland, and surrounding areas. Contact their offices at 423-290-7698 or message them at facebook.com/Hatchett Law.
L&B Appliance is your one-stop appliance shop and HVAC dealer. Locally owned and operated, serving this area for over 30 years. They offer sales and service. L&B Appliance, located on Durkee Road at Highway 64 in Cleveland. 423-339-3231. L&B Appliance, large enough to meet all your home appliance needs, small enough to appreciate your business.
Anna, can you count to 5 without saying 1 or 3?
Sure, 2, 4, 5.
That's right. Our big story is the 2 for $5 breakfast deal at Hardee's.
You got me.
I know, I did.
Bite into our made-from-scratch biscuits today.
This is Thomas Williams with Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Stop by today and take advantage of Bradley County's largest pre-owned inventory. Or visit cleveland-nissan.com, home of the lifetime warranty.
Welcome back to the MixedTV.tv High School Football Thursday nights driven by Mountain View Nissan. We've talked about 10 games so far, and we're about to go through and give you our picks for all 10. But first, we're going to look back at last week. Brittany, you went 5-5. That brings you to.
I thought we weren't
sorry.
This.
This is your week. This is
still
your
above
week.
500.
This is my week. I'm feeling it. Yeah. Gotta go up.
You're above 500. You're 11-9 on the year. Drew, me and you went 6-4. You were 14-6 on the year. I'm 15-5 on the year. Derek, you went 7-3. You beat me and Drew by a game and Brittany by 2 games. You were tied in first at 15-5 on the year. I called my shot earlier, but I'm going to say it publicly. I'm going 10-0 this week. But we're going to jump right in. We got 10 region games, starting off with Sweetwater versus Loudon. That game is at Sweetwater. It is a 7:30 kickoff. Drew, you're to my right. That means you get to go first this week.
I think this one will be a good game. Sweetwater's played 2. They're 1-1, but they played 2 really tough games to get the year started. They won big last week. They should have beat Meigs County in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Loudon coming off the win over Lenore City last week. This might be an upset pick, or I'm gonna get things rolling, but I'm gonna go with Sweetwater over Loudon.
I like it. Brittany.
I should listen to him more the way he's picking and I'm picking, but I think I'm going with Loudon. I think they had a great win, a lot of momentum coming into this week. So, Loudon.
All right, so I thought Sweetwater would lose to Rockwood, and they destroyed them. So that being said, I think Loudon still beats them. I think it's a tough game.
I hate when you do that.
I mean, Loudon's got they're looking at their senior class being the best senior class ever. So I think Loudon pulls out another close win.
So this ain't your mama and daddy's Sweetwater team. I mean, they're off to a good start, but Loudon they're 2-0. They went undefeated in region play last year, and I think that trend continues. Give me Loudon. Meanwhile, the Battle of the East, as named by Brittany Jackson, East Hamilton traveling to East Ridge. You mentioned East Hamilton starting quarterback. Lake Clark is out for the season, most likely with a torn meniscus and an ACL. East Hamilton comes in ranked 16th in Class 4A. East Ridge is winless on the year. Drew, you doubling up on upset picks?
No, not on this one. I think East Hamilton gets things back on track, and my only statement on this game, I think this is a blowout win for the Hurricanes. Might be a hurricane warning there at East Ridge.
We're getting honey up in here.
Same here. I know East Hamilton's beat up, but East Ridge is, struggling trying to get a win. I think East Hamilton's going to take it pretty easy.
I agree. And, last week we talked about Coach Gerald Jones and his heart attack, and he was released from the hospital and getting home. So now we're praying that you continue to get better, Coach G. But I think I've been watching videos. The whole school's rallying around him. I think that's a rallying point. Cool. And I think East Hamilton wins this one big as well.
Yeah. Even without Lake Clark, Juan Ballard, star running back for him. I think that's enough offensive firepower to get over East Ridge on the road. I'm going with East Hamilton, and we're going to make it a clean sweep. A lot of Hurricanes here. But just a reminder, those Hurricanes are presented by Village Volkswagen. Moving on, McCallie versus Montgomery Bell. A lot of storylines here. Number 1 versus number 2. It's a rematch of the state championship game. It is in Chattanooga at McCallie. Montgomery Bell has to travel. That is a 7 p.m. kickoff tomorrow night. Drew, who you going?
I think this could be one of the best games of the season. I'm going to our game, obviously, tomorrow night, but I wish I could see this one. One of my boys, Corey Simpson, coaches at McCallie, a really good dude, and I think McCallie wins it, but it's close. I think they win it, and they're at the end.
Agreed. I think it's going to be a great game. I mean, always a rematch from last year. Montgomery Bell is going to be hungry to beat them, obviously. Something in me says, with that home field advantage, it's at McCallie. I'm going to stick with McCallie.
Yeah, it's tough to pick against McCallie. I mean, it's their streak. It's at home. They just keep getting their transfers. They look impressive on both sides of the ball every game. I think Coach was right. This may be the best game of the year possibly. So, yeah, I'd say McCallie.
I agree. And I think whatever happens in this game, they're on a collision course to meet each other at the end of the year, barring a little Baylor mix-up of the pot. Just throwing that out there. McCallie was not able to run the ball, which was interesting to me. Meanwhile, Montgomery Bell was. Their running back, Jonathan Moore, has 6 touchdowns in 2 games this year. And I really can't describe it, the feeling, but give me Montgomery Bell. Give me the big red. This is my 10-0 arc that is happening right now. So I'll take Montgomery Bell. I think it's close. I think it's a great game. But I'm taking the big red.
We'll never hit the end of it if he's right.
Oh, if I'm right. I picked against a team that's won 18 in a row. Moving on, another red team, Baylor. This is they're hosting Knox Catholic. That is a 7:30 kickoff. Baylor ranked 3rd in D2 AAA. Knox Catholic ranked 4th. So if you're counting, that's 1 through 4, all playing in Chattanooga tomorrow night. Baylor, they're 2-0, coming off a big win over Innsworth. That's sort of a statement win, showing they're here. Meanwhile, Knox Catholic shut out South Green 54-0. These two teams also on a collision course. Tough game to pick. Drew?
Yeah, I think Baylor has done some great things to start the season. I think they've put up points. They've done great things defensively. Knox Catholic year in, year out has always been pretty solid. But I'm going to pick Baylor to win this and move to 3-0. And I just think that Baylor McCallie game in a few weeks is going to be a lot of fun.
I picked against Baylor last week. I thought they'd go to Innsworth and get beat. They did not. They showed me out. Knox Catholic, number 4 in D2. I'm going to go with probably the upset. I'm going with Knox Catholic.
Ooh, yeah. I like it. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Derek?
All right. Well, I picked against Baylor also last week. But I do think Baylor is on the rise, and I think Baylor is eyeballing McCallie and trying to take that spot. So I think Baylor beats Knox Catholic to continue that trend to stay undefeated when they play McCallie.
Yeah. I think Eric Kimry, Baylor's new coach from Columbia, South Carolina, he's coached with Spurrier in the college and NFL ranks. I think he's the real deal. They have some studs. I think Knox Catholic is good. I mean, they're definitely a top 5 team, but I think this is, I don't want to call any shots early, but this is one of the best Baylor teams we've seen in a long time. And for that reason, I'm taking Baylor. Moving on, this is a fun one. Polk County versus Tellico Plains. Polk County, they're 2-0, looking to move to 3-0. Meanwhile, Tellico Plains, they had a tough loss last week to McMinn Central. How are we feeling about this one?
I don't know much about either team, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Polk County wins this by 4 touchdowns or more.
Oh, blowout.
You hear that, Ben?
Blowout.
You hear that, Ben?
Same. Don't know much. Haven't got to see Polk County play lately in the last couple of years, actually. But, just looking at some of the highlights of these last couple of weeks, I think I'm going to go with Polk County.
Polk County has not played a lot of good teams yet, but they're rolling. So I think Polk County continues that by beating Tellico by 3 touchdowns.
Okay. You know what? I'm on the Polk County wave. Give me Polk County by 3 touchdowns and a field goal. All right. Gonna hedge my bets here. Meanwhile, moving on, I've gotten mixed up. Silverdale at Chattanooga Christian. Silverdale, high expectations this year for their offense especially. But last week they get shut out at Franklin Road Academy 35-0, and that's the first time in the past 2 seasons we've sort of seen Silverdale look like they haven't been able to move the ball offensively. Meanwhile, Chattanooga Christian, after dropping their first game to McCallie, they did something that nobody's done to South Pittsburgh in 10 years, and they shut out South Pittsburgh 41-0. Boo Carter's the real deal for Chat Central. If you haven't looked him up, you definitely should. He's a stud. It's at Chat Christian. I said Chat Central. It's at Chat Christian, 7 p.m. kickoff. Drew?
There's a lot of good games in Chattanooga this week. I think this one will be a fun one. Silverdale, obviously, they didn't get it on the board. Last week, just 20 points. Chattanooga Christian, got a huge win and held South Pittsburgh scoreless. And South Pittsburgh may be a little down than they have been in the past. But I'm gonna pick CCS to win this one. Big win. That could be a big win for them and their program.
I agree. I'm going Chargers. I love Coach Massey. I think he's a great coach. For that reason, they're going to win this week.
All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of great football on a Friday night before college starts on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I think Chattanooga Christian is not, like I said last week, they're not McCallie level yet, but they're on the up and up. I think they win this one big.
Yeah. Private school football in Chattanooga right now is looking really good. Silverdale's offense did not look good last week, and I think CCS, like you said, they're on the up and up. So I'm going to have to go with the Chargers. I think they win, and I don't necessarily think it's that close. Silverdale Athletics are presented by Mountain View Nissan. Moving on, McMinn Central versus Signal Mountain. Coach Moody looking to continue their winning ways with a win in region play. This is in Etowah. It is their home opener. Meanwhile, Signal Mountain, they're 1-1 on the year after beating Saudi Daisy. I hear your heart breaking now. But this is going to be a fun one to pick as well. What are you thinking?
Yeah, when Signal lost their first game to Hickson, I was like, man, it could be a tough year for Signal. But nice to see them bounce back last week against Saudi, get that win. And I know those guys are excited. Obviously, Coach McMinn Central was excited that they got their win. But I'm gonna go with the Eagles here. My boys Ben Hunsucker and Josh Roberts. Hope they get win number 2.
Well, I'm learning because I don't know much about Signal Mountain, but something in my gut, I'm going to stick with Moody and go with the Chargers.
Love to see it.
Man, I'm torn. So at McMinn's always tough to win, but I just think McMinn's still trying to find their place a little bit. Signal Mountain's got that high-tempo offense. I'm going Signal Mountain in a close one.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Signal Mountain up-tempo offense. Obviously, Matt Moody, they run the spread. They move the ball pretty fast. So a lot of points are probably going to be scored in this one. But one thing I know, I've sort of been half living in Etowah for a while. If you give that town hope, they will show out. And I think that's the game breaker there. The game changer is McMinn Central's at home, and I think that gives them the edge to win a close one, maybe like 45-42 or something crazy like that. But I'm going with the Chargers once again.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, this is a big one. McMinn County versus Ray County. This is a little rivalry game. This is at McMinn County. They're ranked 14th in 5A. Meanwhile, Ray County is ranked 5th in 5A. Ray County coming off a bye week. They lost week 1. Meanwhile, McMinn County coming off a game where they couldn't move the ball at all and only put 3 points up on the board. They come into this game 1-1. Drew, what's it looking like for you?
I think I think that obviously they're mad that they couldn't score last week and got the L. Ray County coming off the tough loss in week 1 to Alcoa, but I think Ray County gets things rolling and their offense. I think they win by a couple touchdowns.
I agree. Just a glimpse of what I saw last week, the Cleveland game. I'm going to go Ray County gets the W.
Yeah, Ray County looked pretty good in their first week loss to Alcoa. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. They've got to see a lot of film. McMinn County, 2 weeks, you don't know what you're going to get week to week, it looks like. So Ray County.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that positive about McMinn going into this game is they shut down Cleveland's offense. But Cleveland wasn't running the wing T, and Cleveland does not have 3 stud running backs that can go for 100+ on you each game. I think Ray County wins, and I don't think it's close either. Meanwhile, McMinn County, they are presented by the law offices of Stephen Hatchett. Moving on, Walker Valley at Ottawa. Drew, your Stangs looking to bounce back after the tough loss at Bradley. I'll just stop mentioning how it happened. Meanwhile, Ottawa, they lost at Red Bank. They held Red Bank to only 18 points, which is a little impressive given the expectations for them going into this game. Are you feeling an upset on exit 11? Or?
No, I think our guys will be in the right mind frame and they'll be ready to roll, get things back on track. I know our defensive guys would like to, have another game where they force a lot of turnovers. I
Yeah.
mean, that's been the key for the first 2 games, and so hopefully that'll continue. Braxton Smith had a couple of picks last week, and I saw him pick one off in practice today. So, maybe that's a good omen for how things will go on Friday. For our guys, I think our guys get back on track, get the W, and be an exciting ride home from exit 11.
I agree. I think Walker Valley coming off the loss, I think they're going to use that as motivation. They know they could have, won that game and beat Bradley, so I think they could undo Ottawa easily and get a win.
Yeah, it could be a good game. Like I said, Ottawa has some athletes on the outside, but then so does Walker Valley. I mean, look at Blaine Lowe, Tucker Owenby. These kids, they're good athletes as well. So I think Walker Valley wins pretty big, and I think it gets them rolling for a little win streak for the next few weeks.
It feels like in recent time we haven't talked about Walker Valley's defense, but boy, it looks like they have a good one this year, and I think they shut down Ottawa, and I'm taking Walker Valley. Just a reminder, Walker Valley Athletics are presented by Wright Brothers Construction, and Ottawa Athletics are presented by Chattanooga Auto Square. Moving on, the granddaddy of them all. It's not the Rose Bowl, but instead it's Bear Stadium. Bradley Central versus Cleveland. That is a 7 p.m. kickoff. Bradley's won 7 straight. Bradley's ranked 10th in the Class 6A polls. They are coming off a big win over Walker Valley. I promise that's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on, Cleveland, they're coming in off the win over McMinn County, 6-3, a slugfest. This is the game. This is the game everybody looks to. Every football player circling on their calendar before the season. Walker Valley's out of town, thankfully. Not because I want everybody to be at this game. I just don't want you to be here, Drew. But all jokes aside, it's a big game. It's one of those town shuts down games. Who are you picking?
Can they both lose?
I mean, that's what I was going for last week.
Yeah. When I moved up here 4 years ago, I wanted to be a part of this city and this town just for the rivalry standpoint. It's awesome that we have 3 schools that just fuel off each other and feed off each other, and it's a lot of fun, and it's the great thing to be a part of. I got friends at both places, and there's coaches that coached me, Brad Benefield at Cleveland, and I coached Brett Standifer at Bradley when he was at Saudi, and so one of those things. It's like you got ties to each one of them, and But I think that I think Bradley continues the streak, and they get the win tomorrow night.
All right.
Yeah. Hands down. I think it's going to be a great game, exciting game. So much excitement going up to it. So, but it's easy. I think that my son and husband are going to be complaining when we ride home because we're going to get the W.
Oh,
I'm feeling it. Damon's going to have them ready. We're going to pull it out. I think it's going to be a great game.
Interesting. So I wore the Cleveland basketball shirt to try to help sway you a little bit. You got some ties.
No.
I think the Cleveland boys are going to rally. I think they got to clean some stuff up. Their defense looked really good. They're going to see the film of obviously Bradley and Walker Valley, but I think Bradley won late. They're going to see what Bradley did to help stop them. Sorry, Walker Valley did to stop Bradley. So I think they're ready to go. Believe that. Cleveland.
Believe that, he says.
I love it.
Now that I'm not a student at Cleveland anymore, I can say that Damon Floyd's just been dominant in rivalry games, and it feels like no offense, a bad pick to pick against Damon in rivalry games.
They might take all your records and
they're
everything from
taking
Cleveland.
everything.
Are they taking all
They're
that down?
everything from me.
Everybody started a petition.
Yeah. Give me the Bears. I think it's close. I think it's a close game, but I think Bradley sort of controls it the whole way. Bradley Athletics are presented by L&B Appliances. Shout out Joshua Taylor, my intro to business professor, believe it or not. And then Cleveland are presented by Bradley Concrete. This is a big one, guys. Bradley Cleveland tomorrow night, 7 p.m. You can listen to the Cleveland broadcast here on Mix 104.1, the Bradley broadcast on Talk 101.3, or you can watch the game, Heartline and Shelton commentating, and yours truly on the sidelines at mixtv.tv. It's an exciting week of high school football. Wherever you're watching, there's a great game to go out and watch, and we're excited for it. All of them are tomorrow night. From all of us here at Mix TV, Austin Radcliffe behind the camera. Austin Chadwick behind the camera. Gideon Radcliffe producing. From all of us, Drew Linus, Brittany Jackson Tucker, and Derek Morris. I'm Ryan Lovelace. You've watched the high school football Thursday nights driven by Mountain View Nissan. We will see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.